Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
Summertime and living is easy. Fish are jumping and the cotton is high.
Without a swanky fundraiser for his campaign in New York City, the rich Floyd said, "Don't worry, nothing is going to fundamentally change when I'm president." That's right.
Excellent category, the most excellent canopy, the air, look for you, that greater hanging
Jim Crow smiling at me. Nothing but
Brother, sister, friend, or brother, loves the ways of Jesus. When he died on Calvary, he gave his life for fallen men.
The enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize. So my question for us on the other side of this camera is, after it burns, will we be left with charred, or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes that Atlanta has always done? Will we use this as a moment to say that we will not do what other cities have done, and in fact, we will get better than we've been? I can tell you is that if you sit in your homes tonight, instead of burning your home to the ground, you will have time to properly plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your census so that people know who you are and where you are. The next thing is making sure you exercise your political bully power and going to local elections and beating up the politicians that you don't like. You got a prosecutor sent your partner to jail and you know it was bull. Put a new prosecutor in there. Now's your election to do it.
Here's a love, there's a boundless love.
We're moving forward at a pace that was unimaginable just a short time ago, and we are never, ever going back.
That 1994 crime bill, it did contribute to mass incarceration in our country.
Piece of legislation on Capitol Hill tonight is the crime bill.
Now, violent crime peaked in 1991, and the drafters of the bill didn't know that in 1993 and 1994 when they were drafting and signing it. Urban areas, urban cities across the country were ravaged by crack cocaine, and Americans were afraid of crime. The 1994 crime bill was signed by President Bill Clinton. This was a pretty significant bill at the time, and President Clinton and Senator Biden at the time were right that the bill was significant.
The most significant federal effort to deal with violent crime in America that has ever been undertaken.
And at the time, the Congressional Black Caucus was part of the debate around the crime bill. And the Congressional Black Caucus didn't want every provision that was included in this bill. It became clear that the provisions in the 94 crime bill were going to be a political compromise. And so the history is much more complicated than is sometimes portrayed by the media. The bill eliminated 19 types of semi-automatic assault weapons. It also provided huge amounts of funding to hire cops. 100,000 cops were funded. It was about $14 million at the time for community police. The bill also enacted the Violence Against Women Act that provided funding to protect women and victims of domestic violence and crimes against women. $12 billion that was authorized for states across the country that would enact what's called truth in sentencing laws. That funding literally paid states to increase the number of prison beds that they allocated for individuals convicted of violent crime in this country to serve 85% of their sentences behind bars. The reason that provision is so important, and the reason we're still talking about it today, is the federal government essentially subsidized states across the country to build more prisons.
Phony rhetoric. That bill was a huge mistake.
There's no question that that crime bill contributed to America's mass incarceration problem.
1994 crime bill, we had a gigantic epidemic in America of violence, particularly in African American communities. The notion was overwhelmingly supported. It was supported by the Black Caucus in the United States Senate.
Policymakers felt the need to respond to what they felt was uncontrolled violence, and this bill was the way that policymakers, that Congress could say, we're do something about it.
Violent crime and the fear it provokes are crippling our society.
About it.
Violent crime and the fear it provokes our society.
At federal funding to across the country.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
How's it going, guys? Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How are you doing today? Good. I saw Tulsi Gabbard. She was on Facebook yesterday talking about how the Patriot Act vote, because you know how like they extended Patriot Act, they extended it Congress, so they're re-voting on it, and of course Tulsi votes no, you know, because it shouldn't exist in the first place.
On the Patriot Act reauthorization, there's going to be another vote that'll be coming up here in the next few hours on the bill itself, and I just wanted to share my position on this. For those of you who have been following this issue about the FISA court, which is the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, and the reauthorization of 3 provisions within the Patriot Act that had expired. They were temporarily extended a few months ago. The expiration of that temporary extension is upon us. And so there's a bill that we'll be voting on. My concern with the Patriot Act as a whole, as well as the FISA court, is that it completely lacks the protections necessary guaranteed to every single American for our civil liberties and privacy. It violates our Fourth Amendment rights by creating this opportunity for abuse, even by those within our own intelligence agencies, for there to be collection of information or surveillance of Americans without a warrant. The Fourth Amendment says you got to have a warrant, period. The Senate passed this bill a week or two ago, and there were some amendments made. There was one amendment that failed by one vote that would have outright prohibited the government from collecting information on Americans' web browsing history, what online videos you watch, those sorts of things, without a warrant. If there is a warrant, then this is an allowable thing. But without a warrant, it should be completely prohibited. Well, that amendment failed in the Senate by one vote. Had bipartisan support and bipartisan opposition. It failed by one vote. So there was a bipartisan group of us who had hoped to bring that same amendment to the bill as it came to the House, to do what the Senate tried and failed to do. Unfortunately, I also offered a few other additional amendments that I felt would further strengthen our civil liberties and privacy. At the end of it, none were brought to the House floor for a vote, therefore leaving gaping holes open still within our law that don't even come close to adequately protecting our civil liberties, privacy, and Fourth Amendment rights.
They have to vote again because they have to just extend it a little bit more because they can't get everybody to say no yet. I just don't understand that shit. It's got to be like so bought. Like the fact that people are like literally Obama wiretapped our phones, George W. Bush threw people in Guantanamo Bay without due process. Okay, they're saying he's a Russian. Trump is a Russian asset. He is a Kremlin puppet. He is a traitor to our country. We're going to go ahead and extend the Patriot Act for Trump to use. What kind of cognitive dissonance in the fuck is that? How are you going to give Orange Hitler some fucking Patriot Act powers? This is the thing I think about with the masks too. Although I'm not going to get into that because I know it's got a lot of controversy. I don't really care that much about the mask. I'm wearing my mask.
I'm a mask guy.
Me too. Like I'll wear my mask because I'm in society with you. But all I have to say about that is it's going to go from we're wearing our masks to we're never going to stop wearing our masks to the point where we're going to talk about who's wearing the new mask. Armani? Does Armani have the new mask? Oh, maybe it's Chanel. Chanel has the new mask.
I think that's a small price to pay, though.
Then Justin, then it's going to start to denote class. Oh, the rich have the red masks, the Jews masks, the blacks have the purple masks. We're going to all have different kinds of masks, just like in
We're going to give that capitalist bedazzling to anything, like whether it's
that's true.
Like that's all it is, just capitalist bedazzling. So like if we're going to do that to preventative equipment, then I think it's a small price to pay for preventative equipment. Like if that's actually the worst thing, if masks became fashionable so that like all the people who go outside anyways, all the vain people who want to be seen and would be breaking social distance, want to be displaying their awesome new masks, that could actually be a social good. That could be a net benefit to society.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I think so. It could? What about the breathing of the oxygen?
The thing about, so my stepdad worked in a lab for a long time, and he would have to wear those masks like all day long because they'd be working with like noxious chemicals and shit.
Okay.
And he told me that he could breathe, and they know a lot of like doctors and stuff. I don't know, my stepdad's kind of like upper class. My mom's married to him, and so they're like around like professionals and like white collar graduates and shit. And all those people have to wear masks all day long. I'm pretty sure like we all know nurses who have to wear those things. My ex is a nurse. She have to wear that shit for like 8 hours a day. So I don't know like what profession that you're in to where you have to be breaking social distance and be within 6 feet of somebody for like such hours that carbon toxation or whatever the issue is would actually be, you know what I'm saying? Like what? I mean, I guess like if you work in like a slaughterhouse or something, like you're really close to each other. But I think you'd be wearing a mask already anyways.
What if you're like a workout like expert person and you're like, put your hands on your thighs and your hands on your head and your hands on your thighs.
I miss the gym so much, bro. Trust me. Like I want this to end also, but I don't know.
But it's not gonna. That's the thing about this country is we just take every single idea and then we just fucking dead. We beat dead horses all the time. Just like these parties. These parties should be dead.
I wanted to ask you, how do we, I feel like as a Bernie coalition, we sort of, I don't know if we let African Americans down or if African Americans weren't invested in the Bernie coalition. I kind of wanted to ask you, because I don't have any insight into that. I can't provide insight into that because like I'm a white man who can only recognize economic hardship. I can't recognize racial appeal. So like, how do you think we let the community down, or was the community not very invested in the first place?
I think that our community, and I'm not going to speak for my entire community because also I'm black and I'm gay. Nobody can speak for the entire community, but I will tell you this.
Absolutely.
We all know, we're not dumb, that Joe Biden's a racist, okay?
Yeah.
The fact that they coalesced around him and Obama, like he had understandable reasons for choosing Joe Biden. He wanted to take states, okay? That's why he got Joe Biden in the first place.
Yeah.
He wanted to take states, okay, to win the election.
He was literally just like a human shield from criticism from conservatives.
Exactly.
Like,
exactly.
Look at this here 40-year-old boy from Chicago. What do you think he's going to do? And then they're like, oh, he's got wise Uncle Joe in him.
Exactly. So I'm not even blaming Obama for this at all, except for the part where he and Tom Perez and Michael Bloomberg went into the DNC and called all of the fucking neoliberals and told them to drop out.
Yes.
Why couldn't they coalesce on Pete Buttigieg? Why couldn't they coalesce on Amy Klobuchar? Why couldn't they coalesce with fucking Bloomberg, even though Bloomberg would have been way worse than Joe Biden?
So I have two. I think maybe one, they could not have done it with Klobuchar or Buttigieg because they would not get any people of color vote at all. Like they literally only appeal to like white over 45. Like Bernie turned out for Hispanic voters, and I thought that was really cool. Like my fraternity big, he's a disabled vet who's Hispanic, and we went to the rally in Austin to go see him. Like everyone was wearing those like Hispanics for Bernie, like Tio Bernie shirts, and I'm like, all right, well,
Tio Bernie, I love that shit.
So that's why I think that Bernie has to have appeal that can transcend its relegation to the white community. I just want to know like how we as people experiencing economic hardship who want to remedy economic hardship can reach out to African Americans who are an integral voting bloc for the Democratic base.
Real talk, Justin, Jay. Real talk, Jay. Real talk, Jay. The thing is, Bernie was too old. Okay, he was too old, and when he went to that Black women's meeting, and they were like, "What are you gonna do for Black women?" and he started talking about Medicare for all. Okay, he had his positions and his talking points. He was good for working class people. I could get through the stuff that his rhetoric and stuff like that because I'm, like I said, I'm a free thinking person who thinks deeper into things. A lot of Americans don't think deep into things. Okay, they don't want to go for like an analogy or similes. They don't want to go for metaphors. They want you to tell them stuff. That's why Trump won. Okay, that's another reason why Trump won. So when Bernie Sanders is talking about Medicare for all, when they ask him what he's talking about Black women, he's just too old. He was too old to go in Black women. That was kind of a thing that was kind of a turnoff. I will say from my cousins who said that stuff. Me, I was all on board because I don't care about any of that. I just care about policies. And I want to support those fucking policies. He said Joe Biden was a friend of his. Okay. So why are we voting for Bernie then? If Joe's a friend of his and he was the vice president, I mean, did Bernie do a really good job trying to win this election? Hell no. He did not. It was a former shadow of his last campaign. Jimmy Fallon asked him to talk about Joe Biden. Bernie said nothing bad about Joe Biden. Okay?
Well, we had to.
How are you going to win a fucking election?
Because we had a media battle going on right now to where like, okay, so the podcast Chapo Trap House, shout out to them. They're my fucking heroes. They talk about this a lot where like Democrats get obsessed with the premise of just like, you can't see my air quotes, but being dignified, where they're like, we just want to restore dignity, we want to be respectable, we want to fucking indicate X, Y, and Z, like all that superficial shit. Yeah. And people like Bernie, when he waves his hands around and uses his, idiosyncrasies to express himself, even though he's, digging into deeper issues, all people see is, the angry old guy and his horde of alleged Bernie bros, which actually, like, there was actually a Harvard study that came out, I'm going to try to find it, where they analyzed over, like, 50,000 hours or some shit of, it was like a large period of time, though, of bot accounts that were tweeting out, like, anti-Kamala Harris, anti-Biden, and Clinton stuff. And the amount of accounts that they could trace to authentic people was like 4%. It was 96% bots. And I was like, super predator thing. It's just like, all right, if there's these dangerous fucking invisible people around who are fucking you up, please identify them for me. Where are they? Point them out in the room.
Bloomberg identified them. They should be hanged. Bloomberg identified those guys, didn't he? Stop him and frisk them too.
Bro, watching him on stage was like, did you ever watch the show The Office at all?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so you know, so like when Michael Scott would like, you know, do really embarrassing shit, like when he promised those kids to like pay for their college and shit, and he had to like go watch them like do the choreographed dances that they made for him and shit. Watching Michael Bloomberg on stage made me cringe to like that extent. Like just watching him like look in that audience and be like, look, the Broad signed a non-disclosure agreement. This is very standard.
Yeah, seriously. He did not even give a shit. He was like, whatever, I'm going to buy you tomorrow, Elizabeth.
I was literally thinking that. He was like, if you boo me, I'll just buy all your houses.
I can't believe it. Although I will say that was the best time for Elizabeth Warren. I actually liked her as a person.
Yeah, so that was the period of time where I actually did respect her. Like that, you know, 0.0001% of like, you know.
After she fucking tried to do the sexist shit, like with CNN, and she tried to pull that shit on Bernie. Then she goes and rips up Bloomberg. She needed that shit for sure.
Bro, that was what was hilarious, and I would always argue with people on Twitter about this when like they would say Warren lost because of sexism, and I would just pull these stats and I'd be like, Bernie Sanders won with women of all demographics over Warren. She did not lose because of sexism, and if she did, it's because all of y'all stayed home. So like I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like stats don't lie about that. Because of sexism, and I would just pull these stats and I'd be like, Bernie Sanders won with women of all demographics over Warren. Well, oh, you don't care?
Yeah, that's what I say. That's what I say about Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, I'm about to distract you.
No, you're good. That was pretty funny.
It was turned out that she was told to get out of the race at that exact time, didn't it? Wasn't it? So she could take progressive votes. Turns out she didn't even lose, did she? Now it's even funnier. She was told by Barry himself to get the fuck out of the race at that time. Uh-oh. So her whole sexist thing is so stupid now. It's even funnier. She was told by Barry himself to get the fuck out of the race at that time. Uh-oh.
And when Barack told me that I had to get out, well, childcare.
Yeah.
And that's now is she always tries to fit in the phrase mommies and daddies when she talks about affordable childcare.
Yeah.
And that's a very trendy topic now, you know, because like that's a huge issue in America is that women can't afford daycare. But so she just works there. She's like, working class mommies and daddies who are struggling to make ends meet.
Sorry, go ahead.
Bro, no, when she kept trying to like relate. So when this was amazing.
You need to pee. Sorry, go ahead.
Bro, no, when she kept trying to like relate. So when anybody who wasn't Bernie, you know, got up there and they're like, look, I come from the poorest, stupidest, most worthless background than anybody in here. My parents were single chromosome losers who crawled out from under rocks and were beaten, and they left me in the garbage. And you're just like, losers who crawled out from under rocks and were beaten, and they left me in the garbage. And you're just like, I'm sorry. I thought you came up here to describe what your like credentials were as president, not just like talk shit about your upbringing and how hard you had it. And like Elizabeth Warren's was great because her brother even like made a statement. So like, you know, she would talk about how her dad was a custodian. And, you know, she's like, I'm the daughter, you know, of a fucking custodian who became the first, I love this, you know, women of color at Harvard, which she did say in her 1995 autobiography. Go look it up. It's fucking hilarious. She called herself the first woman of color at Harvard.
Yeah. She's Native American.
Yeah. But yeah, so her dad, she always tried to say, you know, she's like, my dad was a custodian, you know, and I, you know, burst up through this glass ceiling of my family's financial limits. Her brother made a statement. Her dad was only a custodian because he was a really respectable car salesman who like made employee of the month several times because he was so good at it, but he had cardiovascular problems and had to stop. So then the only thing that he could do with his condition was custodial work, but he still got like payouts on his health insurance though because of his problems. And then in an attempt to like, be like, oh, how do I relate to the untouchables? I know, I'll say my dad's a janitor.
Ever get down to substance? It's all about identity politics and blaming the victim. Especially when it comes to rape victims. Now, yeah, they don't ever get down to substance. It's all about identity politics and blaming the victim. Especially when it comes to rape victims. Now, you look at the Library of Congress. I don't know why you look at Delaware. I don't care.
Dude, the way that they're treating her, after the dignity that they gave so I want Joe Biden to win over Donald Trump. So I'm about to speak from two perspectives. I'm about to speak I'm about to speak pragmatically, and then I'm going to speak like ethically. So I want Joe Biden to win because I want him to pick somebody for the Supreme Court who won't overturn Roe v. Wade because
Scalia.
And my mom, hates Donald Trump, so I kind of want him to win. I enjoy women's right to choose. Democrats let Christine Blasey Ford have like the authority of Caesar, with like almost like she got a 30-year apart on the spot televised trial where they literally harangued Brett Kavanaugh's entire family history and like defamation of him on national TV for a week. Like, I'm sorry, like I know he was crying on camera or whatever, but like if I had to go on camera I
like beer.
Dude, no, I'm sorry, man, but like I don't like that guy, like I really don't. But like,
who does? He was the enemy of the Fourth Amendment anyway. I don't give a shit.
If you went on TV though, and like everybody was just looking at you and like your kids were there and people were like, your dad's a rapist piece of shit, like you'd be upset. You wouldn't just be like stoic, like, oh, I'm fine, I'm cool, I'm chilling. Like they won't give Tara Reade that time of day, dude. And if you actually listen to her accounts, she provided more contemporaneous evidence of the shit that happened. But like they won't give Tara Reade that time of day, dude. And if you actually listen to her accounts, she provided more contemporaneous evidence of the shit that happened than Christine Blasey Ford ever did.
Yeah.
But like, this is what I don't like about it though. Tara Reade, I don't think that it's ever okay to tell victims like when they should report things. But I think if anybody's going to be, intellectually honest about this entire thing, she had times where she would have been able to do this before her she knew what would happen to her if she waited till now. So there's two sides to this. Some people will say, oh, well, she waited until now because she wanted to like take him down, as like a sort of like, political chess move. And then, people will be like, you really think she'd wait till now, that she'd wait until all this scrutiny came onto her? And it's like, no, I think if this meant something to her, she would have done this when there was 26 political candidates, and she would have done this without CNN literally, dragging her on the news to be like, oh, she bounced a hot check in 2004. She probably lied about being raped too.
Isn't that what they always do though? Just character assassination. I think that's going to be my next.
Wait, do you mean Trayvon or Eric Brown? Because Trayvon was a weird one. Trayvon like
no, they gave Trayvon Martin a toxicology test after he was dead.
Bro, Trayvon Martin pieced him up, dude. That's why Zimmerman's like such an extra pussy. Zimmerman just should have like gone home, fapped to some cuckold porn, and cried himself to bed. But instead, he was just like that's all that should have happened.
Guys, he's still alive too. He's just like he's like a worm, worthless piece of shit that won't die. Well, because I thought someone was gonna kill this guy. I mean, just because he just follows conflict. I thought he was gonna meet the conflict that killed him finally, but he never has.
Well, dude, like. Trayvon literally could have like killed him that day, but he had the restraint not to, dude. Trayvon cracked his head in like 7 places and then was like, all right, I'm done with you, bitch, and then was walking away because he was stalking him with a fucking gun.
Yeah, he was.
He was like, all right, like, and like if you're gonna stalk someone who like George Zimmerman, I don't remember their exact proportions, but Trayvon Martin was like, a fucking athletic man, and George Zimmerman is a tater tot human.
That was good.
So he pieced his shit up. So he literally just he should have just gone home, cried, masturbated, and laid down and just took an L. He shouldn't have just.
No, he decided to shoot him in the back.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
Oh my God! What a horrible guy.
I think he thought too. He's suing. He's suing the Martins too. Piece of shit.
And then he's still alive, and he sold the gun on eBay.
Yeah, he did.
Oh my God! What a horrible guy.
I think he thought too. He's suing. He's suing the Martins too for.
This guy just wants to die. Somebody give him his wish already. Somebody kill him.
That's what I'm thinking, man.
He wants to die. He wants to. You know he does.
Yeah, like
somebody kill him. He wants to die.
Where is he?
Somebody kill me, please. Somebody kill me. So,
Dude, if the way things keep happening right now, there might be riots in Florida soon, you know, because they're hitting all the major cities right now.
I bet you he'll be guest starring. He'll go up there. I know Trayvon Martin. Remember that. Kill me, please.
And now on Saturday Night Live, Jimmy Fallon in blackface and George Zimmerman. The cartoons. And so the only things I know about Jimmy Fallon really I know from like Twitter and Family Guy.
I know.
I never watched any talk shows growing up. Like I'm just like aspy as fuck, so I never watched anything but cartoons. And so the only things I know about Jimmy Fallon really I know from like Twitter and Family Guy.
I know.
It was horrible. All my roommates in college would watch shit like that, but I never like voluntarily did it myself. I didn't know who they were until I was like 18.
It's hard not to know he's best friends with Justin Timberlake because they get on like, you know, they're always on each other's like shit, and then they start giggling like little.
I didn't know that at all. I only know Justin Timberlake from Sexy Back, dude.
Every time Justin Timberlake's on SNL with Jimmy Fallon, check it out because they always just giggle like little girls.
I don't think I've ever watched SNL in my life, honestly.
Oh really? Okay, well see that's why I don't know. I'm on a boat.
Yeah, it's kind of like if his like his upper, he has good jawline, but his like upper face is like too like, you know, so it's
exactly.
like it throws off.
That could have been hot.
He's kind of like handsome Squidward, like you know, so it's
exactly.
like it throws off.
That could have been hot.
He's kind of like handsome Squidward.
It's like Ryan Gosling, right?
We have bigger fish to fry. We have so many other things to think about. Right now, our Constitution is being hijacked. Right now, our freedoms are being threatened. Right now is the time we need to unite. So see what's inside your heart. See what's inside your mind. Do you have the strength? Will you do what it takes? Tommy Nation Politics. Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?